All right, folks, welcome to What's Your Story. It is so awesome to be able to chat with this man again. It was great to get to know him over the course of really the last year or so. Um, Across the pond from Japan, here he is, James the Jinja Ninja, my brother. How are you?
Doing good. Good morning or good evening to you over there. Thanks again for having me on. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
So it's
it's
a
going to be
pleasure.
a lot of fun to chat with you. For those of you guys that don't know, James and I got to know each other. We did an interview. We promoted his comic book. That all those links are in the description, so you can go back there. It really is more of like the what's your story, like background of him going through art school and learning his style. Then, of course, falling into the situation that he did to connect with Thomas to make anti-steamjet western, and it was just it's great to do that, but I really want to kind of to talk to you because I want to like I've seen like your whole world has sort of like exploded since then. Like everything to me, and it's not to take away from that accomplishment, it's to say everything has
Right.
just kind of like went crazy. And I've heard you say on your streams many times, like you just can't believe like
Yeah.
the response at cons and the commissions and all this stuff.
Right.
Talk about that whole experience, like because you were like, all right, I'm going to go and do this convention thing, and you were so
Yeah.
stressed. You're trying to get to it. Talk about that experience, at least initially.
Okay. Well, I guess to begin it all with this whole comic and illustration venture, it all kind of started about 2 years ago. I decided I was going to take a chance on it was all the lockdown. I think this happened to a lot of people. Or the lockdown, they forced people to, um, well, some people, they just sat on their laurels and they didn't do anything, and other people they took advantage of that time off to try to better themselves, to try challenge themselves in something that maybe they had always wanted to do before, but they just didn't have the time or the opportunity to do so. So I just hopped into I told myself, "Well, what's something that I've always wanted to challenge myself at?" And that was comics. It's something I've always loved. And I'd lost my path with them. I'd fallen away from them, and it was really unfortunate because I've always had a love for the comic art. Um, and then I've talked about this before, how I met up with some writers who were looking for an artist, but it felt like I was just jumping into the deep end of the pool, if you know what I mean.
Hmm.
Um, I had no idea what I was doing. I love to draw and I love to paint. I love to do artwork, and that's those are, I guess, are essential skills that you have to have. But on top of that, there are so many other things that that are necessary when you're going into the challenge of making a comic book. And one of the things that so I started taking like some online courses of other comic book artists, and then the one thing that helped me get to the point where I am right now, one of the big things that helped out is I hired an art consultant. And this was my wife's advice. She's pretty good at giving me advice. She puts me on the right track. So she told me, hey, uh, look for an art consultant. And so um, she did some research and found this guy whose father, he's kind of like a curator, or I don't know exactly how to explain it, but he's involved with a whole bunch of museums around here, and his son uh, is a consultant for many artists around mostly Japan. I don't think he's ever worked with a foreigner before, but I told him my situation, and I basically said I love to do fine art, I love to do comic art. Well, and I love to do that kind of illustration. And he's like, okay. So he tried to get me on the path where we were trying both of them at the same time. So I had two Instagram accounts. I was kind of trying to promote both, styles at the same time. And we were just looking at the response I was getting from both of them. And the one thing that he noticed about me, which if you saw my studio, I think you'd be able to understand, is that I'm a complete mess. I'm unorganized. um, and he's like, "Okay, let's set you on one path. Let's ignore the fine art side. Let's just completely focus 100% on comic book work." And that is the big thing. That was the big thing that actually put me on the path where I'm at now, because I need to get focused. And he helped me get focused on my comic book, the comic book work. And he's like, the one advice that he gave me that was extremely helpful was he said, everything and anything that you can apply for right now or do that is comic book related, apply for every single one of them. Try to get your foot into every single door that is possible right now, because this is the part where you have to kick off your career. He's like, this is it right now. Either you do it or you don't. So jump headfirst in. If you see something that's comic book related, apply for it. Do your research. Find anything. Don't hold back. Uh, no matter how big it is, no how many big what names are involved, you apply for it because you are worthy of being in there. Your work speaks for itself. Have the confidence to do it. So then I just started, okay, let's look at Japan. What are the big things they have here? And by the way, if you want to butt in anytime, go feel free because I
No,
could
no,
just
no.
talk forever.
I'm actually enjoying. I'm sort of like on a. I'm sort of like riding the wave of the
Yeah,
cathartic experience of
yeah,
because to perfectly honest with folks that are watching, I've kind of lived this with you,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
I kind of jumped into the wave in the middle of
Right.
some of this was happening, and since
Yeah.
then, as you know, I'm regularly on your show.
Right.
I'm
Right.
not on your show, but
In
I'm
the chat.
following
Yeah.
all the
Yep.
videos. I see all the art. I see the commissions posting. So so I actually was more like, all right, I'm reliving all this. Yes, that's exactly
Yeah.
what happened. Yes, I remember this happened. I kind of see
Yeah.
this process.
Yeah.
So go ahead and apply for that.
Right.
Jump in the water. Okay.
Right, right. So he's like, okay, apply for everything. So I have a friend who deals with comic books here in Japan, and he said, hey, you need to try this one thing. And it's called Brave and Bold, Japan Comic Artist Expo. And it's a smaller event. It gives a few thousand people, but it's basically two floors of artist alley. And this is while the Japan was still closed off to the outside world. They had closed off their borders because of the well, COVID or whatever. Which kind of strange. It was a good opportunity for me, a person who was a no-namer at that time, um, to get into an event that actually usually had big name people in it, locally and from abroad. So I was able to get my foot in the door there. And again, I had no idea what I was doing. I was looking up, you know, artists on the internet from Comic Con, how they're setting up their booth, their prices. I had no idea what I was doing. So I just tried to, do as much research as possible. But in the end, I told myself, you could do all the research you want to do, but until you actually experience it, you're not going to know what it's like.
Sure.
So I got in there and I did that first one, and I had a really good response, and I was very happy with it. And then I was kind of hooked. I was like, okay, I want to keep on doing this, want to keep the ball rolling. What's something that's bigger than this? And then it's Tokyo Comic Con. That's the next biggest thing in Japan because there's not much here. Compared to the States, there's hardly anything at all. So by going into that first event, that helped me get connections to the other event, to Tokyo Comic Con. And I emailed them and I emailed them. And I'm very stubborn when it comes to that. Like I'll keep on emailing to the point where I think people are going to start ignoring me. But yeah, they emailed back and said, "Yeah, yeah, you got a place here." So I was like, "Oh my gosh, what am I going to do? I'm in there now, and this is a huge event, and they're expecting 60,000, 70,000 people." Um, and again, it's just do your research, talk to people, and
And this is the one
eh,
that Gray
yeah,
met
yeah,
you
this
at,
is the
right?
one.
And
Yeah, him and
he
Angry.
kind of helped you the whole weekend, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, him and Angry Canadian came out as well.
Yeah.
And I think the thing about this one that was really this one helped me realize that I was very lucky with my Japanese ability.
Mm.
Something that I've seen from a lot of people who order commissions from me or who come up to my booth. The one thing that I have that I think that my artwork is okay. I think many artists have like imposter syndrome. Many like musicians, artists, writers, this and that. They think, "Oh my gosh, my work is nothing compared to these people," which I think that on a daily basis. I think, "Oh, I've done something great," and I'll open up Instagram on, "Nah, nah, you're just beginning."
Mm.
And so, but the one thing that I realized is, an advantage that I do have over here is I'm able to speak Japanese, which means I'm able to people don't buy your artwork just because of the quality of the artwork. They also buy your artwork because you are able to connect with them on a human level.
Mm.
And so during Tokyo Comic Con, I really was using my sales pitch. Like more so than the Brave and Bold, the Japan Comic Artist Expo. It felt the vibe is completely different. Um, and I just my dad was a salesman. He was a carpenter, but he also did car. He was also a car salesman. He was a guy who went around house to house with the new product that he wants everybody to buy.
Right.
And so I think I got a little bit of that from him. And then I just had so much fun. And you know, I think the one thing that a lot of the customers who were Japanese that were commenting whenever they post their stuff online or they talk about me online, they're like, we're just really surprised about how much Japanese he spoke and how friendly he was and how they are nervous, but because of the way that he talked to us and greeted us, it made us feel more comfortable.
Hmm.
So I'm able to use that to my advantage over here, and I think that helps out a lot. Well, whether or not that'll translate to an international audience, I don't know or not, but I feel more comfortable almost doing my sales pitch in Japanese because that's what I have to do for my work here. I have my own English and art school. And so if somebody calls and they want to like join my school, I have to do my whole pitch in Japanese.
Sure.
So I don't have a lot of experience doing that in English. So
But I think there's a lot to be
yeah,
said with what you were going for there was, it's
yeah,
not just
right.
here's this commission or this art that you've
Yeah,
done of
yeah,
Deadpool.
right.
It's I met this guy and he's really cool and we were chatting about this, we were chatting
Yeah,
about
yeah,
that, or
yeah,
I saw him or he just complimented so and so's cosplay, and next thing
yeah,
you know, he's like, well, if you ever want a commission done or something like that, we'll figure something out. As long as I
yeah,
can do it
yeah,
live on my channel, or I'll cut
right.
you a deal on this. And that type of interaction is what I think most of us think about with our
Yeah,
convention
yeah,
experiences. If I met so and so, this is what happened. I met so and so, this is what happened. It's not just, oh, I got this thing I bought. Like, oh,
right,
okay,
right,
I
right.
could have
Oh
bought
no,
that anywhere, right? It's
yeah.
more than that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, the conventions are definitely you know a meeting ground for those kind of interactions. All the whole time, like the whole time I'm drawing and speaking the whole time.
Mhm.
Um, and you see a lot of repeat buyers as well. People who come in, they come over two times, three times, or whatever. And it's those people that you make those connections with that you can't really do while you're just sitting at your, drawing table. I, I think nowadays too, it's a lot more essential for artists, even the professionals. Like I've heard professionals talk about this. You can't just sit and work for Marvel or DC anymore and expect to, you know, um, have the book sell and make a living. A lot of, and I'm not, I don't have a ton of experience in the industry like a lot of other people out there do, but I have heard this kind of thrown around that nowadays, like if you want to be you know, uh, a successful artist, you got to go out there and interact with people. You got to
Mm.
have your YouTube live stream going on. You have to do these shorts, and you have to do like demonstrations and tutorials and things of the sort. So it's not where you're just sitting there working at your studio anymore. You've got to really be interacting now that the world is a lot more, connected. So these comic cons are a great way for me to do that, to connect with the audience, because I love connecting to people in person. It's one thing when you do it online, but it's a completely different thing when you speak to somebody in person, you shake a hand. Um, there's just so much nuance that gets lost through this medium, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I
Especially if
do.
it's just with chat. Yeah.
I do, and I think that this is why with your YouTube stream you do every Sunday morning, you're doing these drawing streams that last for multiple hours. You have great folks on with you, great chat. You sort of like get to know you personally. It becomes Jinja Ninja the brand,
Right.
and when you compound that with the fact that you've been able to, create a comic book or whatever. And I go back to something I heard someone say about Rob Liefeld. Liefeld had actually had this in his contract back with even Marvel.
Uh-huh.
He used the term kayfabe. Like Liefeld was an expert at kayfabing his creations. Like he put in their information, like he was trying to make sure that Cable got X number of exposures with Wolverine,
Right.
right? He
Right.
wanted to make
Okay.
sure he
Uh-huh.
was put in these scenarios for his
Hmm.
creations to also have PR. So it was Rob Liefeld, him, the artist and the brand, but then his creations as well. Like I can
Okay.
put in, I don't know, a good example with something that would be an anti Steam Jake Western, but it'd be like, imagine, oh, I want to make sure I get this image with Jonah Hex. I want to have some sort of
Okay. Yeah.
cool crossover thing that would make an
Yeah.
excuse for my character to stay relevant and in the
Yes.
conversation in
Yeah.
the lexicon. And I think this is the evolution that has been lost in
Mhm. Mhm.
modern comics because a lot of the artists have just immersed themselves in too much social culture conversations and
Yeah.
divisiveness.
Yeah.
And when you compound that with your part of the brand and your creator creations are part of the brand, right? Your
Right.
style and all those kinds of things. Now that you've done a few cons and that kind of thing, what is what is the advice that you would give James right before like Brave and Bold? What would be the advice that you would give if I could get a little time machine moment? I got a DeLorean out back. I got
Okay. Okay.
James. I got 5 minutes. I'm going to go back. I'm going to meet Jinja Ninja for 5 minutes right before he does this convention. Is there any advice I could give him?
Well, I think the biggest advice is I would give myself is just I don't know, just have fun. Just have fun.
Hmm. Okay.
Uh, Even though you might be nervous or whatever, or you might you're you look around you, you see artists who are again of varying levels, all of which you look at and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so below them. Have confidence in your work. Go out there and have fun because the confidence that when you have that confidence and when you are having fun, that that translates to your audience. They'll notice that and they'll feel that, and then that'll bring them over to you, and that'll get them more interested in what you're doing. Also, another thing that I want to give my advice. I want to give advice to myself then and now is let's try to narrow it down.
Mm. Okay.
Like, and I've been trying to do that. I've been trying to because I love to use all different types of mediums. I mean, if you look at my commission chart now, I have like inks. I have watercolor, acrylic inks, acrylic paint, oil paint, and monotype, and that's
Mm.
insane. It literally is insane. But I'm that kind of person that on my deathbed, I want to know that I had tried as much as possible.
Mm.
I
Okay.
didn't I didn't sit there and completely just be, like, focused in on just one medium, one style. I wanted, uh in my life, I'm like, "Okay, it's so much easier to say this in Japanese sometimes." It's gotten to that point. Like, you were given this opportunity as an artist to experiment with all different kinds of mediums, and you only tried one? How dare you? You know?
Okay. So it's
Yeah.
you don't want to squander the opportunity
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
to experiment and try to express yourself in different ways.
exactly.
But maybe okay, let me challenge James now.
Right.
Okay, maybe there would be a way to put a cap on. You know,
Uh-huh.
you listed like six different types. Maybe
Yeah,
there's
yeah,
one that would be very time consuming and overwhelming and could
right.
negatively impact the others. You say, well, I'm going to put a cap on this. As when I have one, I won't take another one until that one's done or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah,
That way you never get yourself so bogged down with running in different directions. And
right,
going back to
right.
the advice that your curator friend gave you, it's like trying to keep the
Focus in on
focus.
mhm.
You can still be all right. How about this analogy? The music, the album that you're going to put these number of tracks on this album, and you have 10 tracks, but we're going to say, well, you're allowed to have two experimental tracks. You're allowed to
Right.
have
Yeah,
track number 8 and 12 can be whatever you want
whatever.
them to
Yeah,
be,
yeah.
James. But the others, we got to have 4 or 5 that are sort of like these are the billboard ones. We can't mess with these. They have to pay the bills. Then you can have a couple of little experiments, but not too crazy. And yeah, maybe that's the
That
best way to kind of
yeah.
put some bumpers up on your bowling alley so you don't end up, derailing. I got you. I
That's
got you.
funny. That's funny. As soon as I was like, while I was talking about this, while I was giving you my answer, I was like, focus in. I was like, okay, that's exactly what the art consultant was talking about,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
and I haven't done it. with this. I need to apply it to that now, and then that's good that you brought that up. But it's funny when you're talking about the experimental tracks. It almost reminds me of like a Tool album. They've always got like their songs that are like 12-minute long, 10-minute long
Yeah.
songs, but then you'll get like an experimental, like just no vocals, just instrumental. You have like two of those tracks in there, and you're like, oh, those are the ones they're like,
Yeah.
they're able to play around with.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a good advice. I think what would help me do that, which I think other artists do as well, is now the time that I have between cons is really like there's a lot of time between each con because I haven't gone international yet, which is what I'm trying to do right now. Uh, I was on the wait list for Dallas. I didn't make that one. That's going on right now. It starts today. Well, actually tomorrow your time.
Right.
Um, I've applied for the Boston one, and I'm still waiting on a response for that. And I've been very I've been writing them a lot. I'm pretty sure they're sick
Sure.
and tired of my mails, but it's international for me. I have to make international travel schedules. I have to get book flights and hotels and stuff. So it's something that I really like to get done a couple of months ahead of time. But what I think what happens right now is I have so much time between like Tokyo and Osaka that I just accept as many commissions as possible.
Sure.
I don't say no. However, it probably would be a good idea once I start getting like a Comic Con, let's say one every 3 months, right? To yeah, cap it off. Okay, only there's only like 3 or 4 of these available, and once those are done, I'm not offering those anymore.
Right.
That's a great
Yeah.
that's a great idea.
And then
Yeah.
it'd be kind of fun to be able to have some sort of sold out mechanism
Yeah, yeah.
that you
Those
have on
always
there,
help.
people, because then
Yeah,
people go, "What do you mean those are sold out?" Like
yeah,
I don't know about you, but anytime I ever see stuff like that, particularly like
yeah,
these Indiegogo campaigns, you
yeah.
always see these, one of one original
Right, right.
page. I'm always
Yeah.
thinking to myself, "Oh, I didn't really have $400 to spend, but I sure wish I did."
Yeah, yeah,
It
yeah.
works. It's got to be in our biochemistry because it just
It
works
is.
that way.
Yeah. Well, I
Well,
mean,
listen, it's a work in progress. It's a
yeah,
work in
yeah.
progress, right? And I think your advice is very, very good for folks that maybe trying to figure out. Maybe it's not exactly comic art or comic conventions, but
Right.
maybe there's something like that, guys, where you're like, the first thing you have to do is you're just going to have to figure out how to like jump into the water, and then,
Yeah,
like you
yeah.
said, take a pause, have a little bit of fun doing it,
Yep.
and then figure out how to evolve into what's the next best thing. Because
Yeah.
you really kind of paused over what was a very profound thing because you came out of that experience. It was positive enough. You
Uh-huh.
learned a lot, and
Yep.
you said, "What's the next biggest thing I can try for?" And I
Right,
think
right.
that's very
Yeah,
profound to say,
yeah,
"Okay, I want to try to level up. I want to try to
yeah.
make sure I can do something else bigger." I know you talked about Dallas and Boston. Is it just going international is kind of like the next big goal for you? Let me try it on that kind of scale, or is it just because there's a gap in time with what's locally available for you guys?
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, no, going international is something that I really
Mm,
wanna try my hand at. One of the big reasons is competition.
mhm,
Um, Nothing against all the artists that are here, the Japanese venues, because there's some amazing artists. I mean, we even get people, from abroad. We have like Ryan Benjamin. He's a huge artist. Peach Momoko. I share the same room with these people, and
mhm,
to me that's very humbling. And they're huge people in the industry. I mean, Ryan Benjamin. He's worked along with him and Jim Lee and David Finch and I'm horrible with all the names. Jay Lee, or was Jay Lee in there? Jay Lee might have been in there. They were basically all in the same room working together. These are guys who've been in the industry for 40 years. And
sure.
now I'm in the same room with these guys. It's like, this is surreal. But you always have to have that there's this voice in your head that goes, you don't belong here. You don't belong here. And then there's this other part that goes, yes, you do. You're here right now. That's the reality of it all. And accept that and roll with it.
It's funny how much, because I mean, I guess I would understand that concept more if it was like regular, like your fine art, like your passion
Hmm.
of fine art, where
Yeah.
you could say, "Yeah, this artist really shouldn't be here." But with comic book stuff,
Right.
as an Uber Batman guy, right?
Mm.
I can love Jim Lee's Batman, Jim Apato's Batman. I can Graham Nolan's Batman. I can just keep going. Neil
Mhm.
Adams. I can just keep going. But I could look at a James Harris Batman and go, I want that one too. You know what I mean? I
I hear
don't
you.
think of it as I don't want that one. I mean, I guess there could be some, but it's just
Yeah,
again
yeah,
that's an aesthetic thing.
yeah.
It's a kind of medium
Uh-huh.
where almost like all bets are off. Like, you know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
not like
yeah.
it's something that has like a definitive
Mhm.
look or feel as much as maybe a fine art gallery or something like that. Comic art, and and again,
Yeah,
you can
yeah,
draw anything because I've seen your fantasy stuff, which is in some ways even outclasses your comic book stuff because some of the
yeah.
fantasy stuff like the Lord of the Rings, whatever, because your passion is there. I can see your love of that
Yeah,
that topic comes through.
yeah.
Um, yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, speaking yeah, fantasy is my wheelhouse. I love anything like fantasy related. If you had to pick like sci-fi or fantasy, I would definitely go fantasy every day of the week. Mind you, I love sci-fi as well, but there's just something. I think it's the books that I grew up on and the medium that I loved reading Dragonlance. I loved like Dungeons and Dragons, the cartoon, and anything that had like a dragon or anything like that related to it. I was completely in on. So whatever I'm doing, able to create that fantasy for me, the world creating, in the sense that like you have a blank piece of paper and now you've created a world within it. That to me is just like it's such a fun experience. And so when I get like a commission and it's somebody asking for like a Batman piece, well, yeah, Batman is has already been created. So I'm doing a drawing of something that somebody's already created, which is fun and all. You get to experiment and have some fun with it. But I really enjoy like creating something that's completely unique and it's my own.
Hmm.
So for the next step, I think that's something that outside of the cons, that's something I really want to do. Have something that's 100% original James Harris Jinja Ninja piece where it's and I've got an idea for this. I've talked to Eric Sullivan about it, like creating a what is it, an ash can piece.
Small comic book.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, a
I got
small
you.
comic book to get the copyright for it. Just send it, you address it, and send it to yourself, right?
Yeah.
um, so that's outside of the cons. That's the next big thing I want to do, and I want to be really experimental with it. I don't want it just to be ink like your typical comic book thing. I want to like try to apply sort of like my monotype pieces up here.
Hmm.
That medium, I really enjoy working in that medium, and I got a lot of really positive feedback from it this last Comic Con because people just it's like again, I'm trying. I consider myself a bridge to not just like Japan and the West, America. I also consider my bridge like with fine art and comic art as well, because I try to implement those techniques that I learned within my fine art studies to my illustration, comic book, and fantasy art illustration related work. So, and I think it again, this translates again to with the comic cons. I always try to make my booth unique, something that it's experience. It's like going to like a like an amusement park. You're gonna have some kind of fun interaction when you come to my booth. You're gonna it's gonna be really colorful, it's gonna be really fun, and you can look around and you can find little things here and there. It's almost like the picture I did for the Friday Night Tights picture. It's there's a lot going on, but you look at it and you hone in on little places and you find these little Easter eggs all over the place. Well, that's kind of like with my yeah, with my booth. I want there to be people to having a fun experience there. So yeah, yeah. I don't. I've kind of got off track with my what I was talking about here. Yeah.
No, no, I don't think you have. This is the cool thing about this is because we're in the middle of that wave, right? We're in the middle of this
Right.
experience and this experiment. I really wanted to reach out to you because I thought, if nothing else, it was a great way for us to capture this moment for you, where you've
Mm,
done a couple of
yeah.
cons. Like you said, we haven't really got into the U.S. market and done some of the stuff that you really know is kind of like the next
Yeah.
step.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's put a pin in where we are right now, right? You haven't really
Okay.
started your ash can project. We haven't really, and I think this is a really interesting place that I mean, obviously we're given some advice maybe for like a newcomer or somebody who's like hasn't done much, but maybe we don't spend enough time helping or talking about our experiences when we're in the middle of it all, right? And I think that's what I thought we could get out of
Oh,
this a
that's
little bit too. What did James do to keep knocking down the door because Dallas didn't answer? He's still waiting to hear from Boston. It's like how does he keep
yeah,
going? How does he
keep
keep,
the ball
you know,
rolling. Yeah,
because that's a place I'm sure where a lot of people stop, right? It just didn't work
yeah,
out and they would just give up. Well, okay, they would give up. And I think that's what I think was an important part that we could at least try to dive into a little bit and talk
yeah,
about.
yeah, yeah. I'm not the kind of person that likes to give up at all. If I've started something, once the ball gets rolling, I I'm gonna follow it to the end. And with this, I don't see an end in sight. Like I see myself doing this kind of work until the end of my career. Where so uh, what do I do now? So after I'm done with these commissions, because I still got about 8 or 9 to work on, I have a friend who's doing a tabletop game, and he needs some illustrations done. So I've got that project. Um, but again, yeah, upping my game. That's where it's all about, though.
Mm,
And so, what do I do? I the thing that I've been telling myself I need to do that's really, really essential is having a daily routine. I'm horrible about that. My routine usually goes like is wake up in the morning, have breakfast, drink coffee, turn on YouTube, see what's going on, write some emails, and then get to work. But I almost feel like I need to have my coffee, have my breakfast, and then go immediately to drawing. I need to, like a basketball player or a professional athlete, I need to go into the gym and I need to start with my warm ups. I need to start with, doing free throws, doing some layups, doing some dribbling exercises. I need to go to my drawing board. I need to draw some legs. I need to draw some feet. I need to draw some hands. I need to do some quick sketches. And the only person that could get myself to do that, uh, it- to get me to do that, is me. And so
mm,
I know if I do that, it's going to improve my drawing ability. I know if I do that, it's going to translate into my work. The only problem is I've got to push myself to do that.
right.
And I know once I can start doing that, it'll help things and it'll push my work to another level. So that's what I got to do. That's the reality of it all.
The mental discipline that goes with the
Yes.
activity as well, right? Because it is,
Yeah.
and
Because
I think that
yeah.
is, and again, folks, if you have not watched what is now last week's "What's Your Story," where it is just me, I think this connects very well to what I talked
Uh-huh.
about last time. So make sure you catch that if you haven't, because I think this is something that we all struggle with. Is like how do we navigate through I think I spoke more on like hurdles, like what are some of the problems that we run up against,
Yeah.
and I found this video of a YouTuber that I spent a lot of time listening to, and it was, sometimes we have to we have to ask for help because sometimes we don't know
Yeah.
what to
Yeah.
do,
Yep.
because there's a lot of things are just ignorant gaps. We just
Yep.
don't know, and we're so frustrated. And the word of advice will be, well, try harder. Yeah, but if I'm trying harder at things that I don't know what I'm doing wrong, I'm just banging my head against
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
wall instead of
Exactly.
learning
Yep.
there's an easy way to go around it. And
Yep.
with your situation, it's like, well, how could I make my routine better? Are there tools I could use? Is there something I can do to help create some of that discipline? Like I said, that put those bumpers up on that bowling alley, so I can. All right, now I'm a little more laser focused.
Right.
Maybe there are. So,
Yeah. I
um,
mean, oh, sorry. Go ahead.
no, I was just going to transition into your FNT thing. But go ahead and say one thing while I start pulling that up.
Oh, okay. Well, I think what I did at the beginning of this whole the process, that something I needed to start to do again, was I went in and watched a lot of YouTube videos by other artists, and I think it's time for me to start doing that again, and just kind of because nowadays it's so easy to gain, like, to get that kind of information that
Yeah, access.
artists would kill for access
Yeah,
to it.
yeah.
Now you have it at your fingertips. So
Yeah, weekly shows,
yeah,
daily
weekly
daily
shows.
shows on some people, but weekly
Should
shows for sure. Like Aaron Lepresti has a weekly show. It's like some of these
Yep,
stuffs are just they're happening all the time.
yep,
Well, folks,
yep.
if you haven't seen it, and this is, I got to figure out how to make this a lot bigger than it is so we can really, really kind of dive in a little bit here. This was, I don't know why it went small again. I tried to make it bigger and then it kind of went small. Why did it do that? There it goes. Okay.
Yeah, it does that sometimes when you press that control up. Did you want me to share mine with you? I don't know if that'll help or not.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's try. If you
All
have
right.
something that we can do that we can kind of get into a little
Yeah.
bit, I think it would be interesting to, tell a few stories or a couple of pieces behind the piece. You know what I mean? A little bit of how that
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
works.
Right.
Because to me, I think this is an area. This and music are the two areas the YouTubing creator circles can benefit from the most that we don't know how to use. It's
Mhm.
people like yourself that could enhance our world by allowing for interesting graphic designs and post different things that we can do that would help us as a creator. And then the music, of course, people that can actually create music and do theme song. And again, these are not like you need someone to make a 2 minute song for you, original song for you. But if you had someone who could just do 15 seconds of an ACDC style riff, that
Yeah.
would be a good
Yeah.
intro for a song.
Yeah.
It would save us so much because we wouldn't have to deal with that YouTube copyright nonsense, right? We could
Yeah, I
all
know,
be
yeah.
leveling up with these things that one, a lot of us, even if we're monetized, it's not like we're rolling in the dough. You guys know YouTube's taking a big chunk and then you got to pay taxes. We're
Mhm.
just trying, most of us are just happy StreamYard at least pays for itself now. Like, you know what I mean? So to say, all right, well, and then with FNT reaching out to you, and it's like now we get a dose of like this really cool new design. And I will say, talk about something that just went right down. Um, I was just so happy for you when I saw it. I just couldn't believe it. I was just so thrilled. So talk a little bit about, if you don't mind, or if you're allowed to say, like, what was sort
Right.
of like the input you got from them or what they were going for?
Well, okay, so this is gonna be a bit, I think, surprising for all the listeners, but what happened was, I was working with, the guys from, Thursday Night Throwdown Comics Divisions,
Oh,
uh, because they're doing their meetup with them as well. So they're having, like, a comics division ranch, which I also did a poster for, and then they're doing it at the same venue as the Friday Night Tight guys as well. So what happened was, they approached me, and this is the Culture Casino and Toxic Man Flu. They approached me on doing a poster for the Division Ranch one, and we didn't have. It's a very, very, very short deadline. Um, and I said, "Hey, you know what?" They're like, "Yeah, we need something really like kind of soon, pretty quickly." I was like, "Okay, I work quickly. I'll get you something as soon as I can." And within 2 days, I had a poster for them, and then they told me that they were talking behind the scenes, and that they also now that I had been asked to do a Friday Night Tights poster as well. I was like, "Oh my
mhm.
gosh." So for me, Friday Night Tights is the thing that got me well, Gary Nerdrotic and Friday Night Tights, that's what got me started with a lot of this. Like, they were my catharsis whenever The Last Jedi came out and completely, like, destroyed my love for what was going on with Star Wars at the time. And also with Game of Thrones, like I was just like, oh, I was just so like defeated. But then watching those guys' shows really helped, get you through all the sorrow. So for me to get the opportunity to do something like this for them was like, wow, this is dream come true.
Sure.
So and again, I was like, okay, so what is our deadline like? And it was like, well, we got to get this done soon. There's not much time to do it. So I was like, okay, I'll try to throw something together in a couple days. So I just did, and I was like, I told him like, oh, we went through a couple of ideas. I was like, well, how about this? It's Dallas. How about this idea of like a casino? Because at that time when this was happening, the whole Odin and Jeremy from Geeks and Gamers, their whole big pineapple pizza kerfuffle was
Hmm.
going on, right?
Sure.
So I was like, well,
Sure.
this is perfect. I started getting images of like Odin with the ace up his sleeve, got Jeremy and him having a showdown, and then also you had like the nerdrotic Gary and Dan Vasquez like man bun bet going on. So I thought it would be fun to have like a picture that kind of showcased all of these like members of Friday Night Tights and people who were involved. and the little lore and everything that was going around them. And I just threw out like, hey, let's do this casino thing. And then I got the A-OK. So I just did a couple real quick sketches and then just went straight into the final piece, which was a real challenge because um, I the size of the poster, it's like I think it's like 11 by 18 poster,
Right.
something along those lines.
Yeah, I think it's 11 by
But
17. Yep.
hold on one second. I'll grab this real quick.
If I can make this even bigger, I guess it doesn't really change too much.
So in order to illustrate it to where I'd be able to get details into it, I had to take my original sketch, scan it in, print it out twice the size,
Hmm.
put chalk on the back of that picture, put it on top of my watercolor paper, and trace out the whole picture
Wow. Okay.
onto a larger sheet. So this is the actual size of the painting itself. It's pretty big.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, so the original artwork was about 3/4 the size of this. Oh, no, no, a quarter the size of this. And then I had to blow that up and then do all this stuff in the matter of like 2 to 3 days.
Hmm.
And that's a real challenge.
Sure. Sure.
But, I stayed up, like, 2 nights in a row, just, like, 2:00, 3 in the morning, just, like, keep on pushing at it, pushing at it, pushing at it, and then, yeah, ended up getting
So,
it to this point. Oh, go ahead, sorry.
well, I was gonna say, take me around because obviously in the foreground it's easiest to pick out Odin and
Yeah, yeah.
Jeremy for sure. I assume this is supposed to be quarter black Garrett with the man bun. Is that what's in the
Okay, so a lot
foreground?
of people say that, but it's actually not quarter black.
Okay.
And if you look, like, in his, left ear, he's got an earring, and
Oh,
this is
okay.
the Dan Vasc this is Dan Vasc because
Dan Vass. Okay.
him and Gary have
Yes.
the man bun thing going on right now, right? So that's
Right.
why Gary has bust through the door right there, and then Dan Vasc is kind of reacting to him
Gotcha.
coming through. Quarter Black's actually at the bar because he's renowned for drinking,
Okay.
and if you look at the FNT saloon,
Yep.
underneath there are 4 blocks, 3 white and 1 black, therefore quarter black.
Quarter black. Oh, all right. Okay.
And
And obviously
that's
it's
yeah.
Ryan on the stairwell, and obviously Chrissy Mayer up top.
Yeah, and you could infer by the way that Ryan is adjusting his tie there that maybe some shenanigans had been going on beforehand. Because I
Sure.
always find, and this is my interpretation, whenever they're on FNT together, and mind you, they're both, Chrissy's engaged and everything, but the two of them have this kind of, I don't call it flirtatious, but it is a bit like, a I don't want to say flirtatious, but it's kind of along those lines, the banter that they have between each other.
Sure.
So I
Sure.
always find that they're able to connect on that level. So I kind of I wanted those two to connect with each other. Um,
Who is behind the bar? Who's the
uh,
bartender?
oh, that's quarter black, quarter black. Yeah.
Okay, so who's at the bar then with the
Oh, sorry.
beer
So
mug?
that's comics. That's comics division.
Okay,
Because
that's comics.
comics
Okay.
division is always just chilling out.
Okay.
Um, and comics division, a lot of people have been like, he's renowned for being like this really, really, really short. That a lot of people have been,
Mm-hmm.
the myth about him. So, but I kind of wanted to make him to where he was just like, regular old guy just chilling out the bar because I met him in person and that's what he's like, just a regular old guy.
He is a
Um,
regular guy, but he is like half the size. He's like only like 5'6". So I don't want to pile on him too much. I love the
yeah,
guy, but like he and Culture are smaller size humans. But
and
yeah,
Sporking as well. I barely even noticed Sporking.
true. Yes, working and Stephen Walton. Stephen Walton also. They're just shorter, smaller humans. Yeah, it is what it is. Also, this is Az at the piano, right?
Yeah, yeah. And as
And it
you
says
notice,
living on. He's playing "Live It on the Prayer," which is the
because
Gary thing. Yeah, I got the
yeah,
gag.
yeah,
Yeah. Hmm.
yep.
Hmm.
And another
Uh,
one that people make. Oh, go ahead. I'll let you go through it. I'll
no,
just
I'm,
keep
I'm
on
just
talking
trying to. I mean, obviously, and we X-Ray Girl, of course, is upstairs as well,
with the
across from
gong.
us.
Yeah,
Yeah, the gong, and then obviously, Baby Grogu's head's on the wall,
right.
and that takes us to the painting, and then someone in the back, and this is where it gets a little tricky. Like I'm not quite sure how
Yeah,
to
yeah.
navigate. I'm also trying to do inventory of like who's left that
Right,
would
right.
be
Exactly.
of the two individuals that would
Right.
be left, and I keep going back to Shad, and I'm like, is Shad in this? Is it one of those supposed
Yes,
to be
yes.
Shad? Okay,
Yeah,
so
that's
Shad
him.
is probably the one in the very back against the
Yeah,
wall, right? Like, is that a
yeah.
sword he has?
He's got a sword in one hand and nunchucks in the other. If you zoom in, you'll see him with
Nunchucks. Okay,
nunchucks because he
yeah, yeah.
hates nunchucks.
I can see
So
it now that you say. Yep, I got it. He
yeah,
hates
yeah.
nunchucks.
So
Yeah.
again, it's really difficult because it's a very small character in the very back. But I want your picture moving through the foreground into the background all over the place. I want you to like do be able to travel through here. And with him, um, yeah, he's got the nunchucks there. And he's a soldier, right? So he's
Hmm,
like
hmm.
I always consider him as like a warrior guy, somebody who's really into that kind of thing. So I wanted to make him as a soldier. So I've got him with nunchucks bursting through. Now the painting above as a lot of people don't get this, but that's fine. It's like these little hidden things that I don't want to be like. I want people to talk about it. You know what I mean? People
Hmm.
are already talking about, oh, who's this? What's this going on? The people have
Yeah.
conversation. So that right there is actually drug 3PO, Canadian Bear,
Wow.
Canadian Bear.
Laying down its Canadian bear.
So
Wow,
you see
that
the
is
little Canadian
brilliant.
flag under him a bit, right?
Hmm,
And again,
hmm.
he's got his shades on because he wears his shades a lot, and he's only got the top of the Canadian Bear thing on. Um, Now, why is he above Az, and why does he have a woman's body? Well, because Az, it is a love for male boobs.
Wow.
That's another thing that goes
Brilliant.
on within the whole lore. Like Az
Sure.
is, you know, and a lot of this is deals with things that people poke fun that they poke fun at each other with, right?
Yeah,
So like the whole
the insider
Odin,
jokes and all the little
yeah,
things.
yeah.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And I didn't really consult a whole lot with people about what I was going to put in, a little bit here and there, but I wanted it to just basically use because I follow a lot of the videos, I watch a lot of the the live streams and everything, and so I know what's going on. So I figured I'd just try to put uh, what I knew in there. Yeah, everybody makes fun of Az for his love of the you know
Well, he made the mistake of referencing the boobs on
yeah,
the woman from
She-Hulk.
She-Hulk who
Yep,
turned out to be a
exactly,
trans person. So
exactly.
he'll never live that down now. So
Right, right.
that
So
was
that
definitely
that
the
had to
one that makes it legacy. Yeah, for sure.
So that had to make it into the picture. So that's that
All right,
there.
we skipped Bowler Hat in the at the pineapple poker table. Who's
Oh,
Bowler Hat?
look at the glasses.
I'm still. It's just not clicking for some reason. I don't know
Oh,
why.
oh, oh, whoops! I can't do it, can I? Oh, actually, let me. I can't do it on my side. I think I can do it. Can I do it on my side? Yes, I can. Oh
Okay,
wow, I can control it. There we go.
perfect.
If you
Oh,
look
look
into
at
the
that geeks and
glasses,
gamer on the thing
yeah,
there.
on Jeremy's hat, yeah.
That's freaking great. So
If you look at
PC,
PC,
PC. What am I
Per-
missing?
Perry Chan,
Oh, it's Perry Chan. Oh my
Perry Chan.
gosh, that's brilliant.
So
Oh,
it's
you
not
got
like
me so good because I didn't even think about including him. That's so brilliant. Great
I
job,
made him like
James.
as a typical stereotypical like Western Asian guy,
Yeah.
an Asian guy back in the West. So and of course the cards have got FNT on them, as you
Hmm.
can see. FNT are on the cards. Uh, yeah, so I don't know what Perry Chan looks like. I think there might be pictures of him out there, but I kind of like the
Hmm.
mystery about nobody. Like I don't like people knowing exactly what he looks like. So he's got like this avatar of like an Asian guy that he uses. It's not himself, I'm pretty sure. But I didn't even look at that. I was just like, I'm making like a stereotypical Asian guy, and that's Perry Chan.
All right.
Um,
The
yeah.
Geeks and
So
Gamer logo is on Jeremy's hat. That's
yeah,
brilliant. All
yeah.
right, take me over to. Okay, so Chris Gore is on the poster. Okay, so he's
Well,
on the
but
wanted
but
poster,
it's
right?
Frank Gore though,
Frank Gore because of the joke about
because
Gore. Got it.
well
Okay.
because Drug 3PO when they were on a live stream together, like during Friday Night Tights, Drug 3PO called him Frank Gore. So that's another ongoing joke.
So
Oh, and
zoom
by
to the
Shad as
other
well.
poster. Okay, yeah, that's why I'm trying. The
Emu.
emu joke. Okay,
It's the
yep,
emu. It's the emu joke. And a little bit of
awesome.
hail up there. There was just some
Yes.
empty space, so I filled it with the hail.
What's
Yeah.
the so there's 1/6 is up at the top next to Chrissy. What's up?
Yes, yeah, because her
Okay,
January 6th comedy show.
January 6th show. Yep, yep.
Yep,
Okay,
yep, so that
perfect.
and this is the Dallas, flag right here, Dallas, Texas
Hmm.
flag up here as well. And then X-Ray's girl's got this big X right here behind her.
Oh,
Some people thought it was a Confederate flag, but, that's that. You might notice what this is.
yeah, yeah. The famous logos there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and the reason Baby Yoda's head is here Grogu is because Az ripped off
Tore it
Grogu's
off.
head
Hmm.
during the real BBC when Nina Infinity was on there. So
Yep.
again, another little reference to that. Yeah.
Yeah, this is perfect. This is perfect. And I'm so glad we're going to probably try to clip this and let this go out for my members right away. So they'll let's have some of the insider knowledge on what
Yeah.
actually is going on here. That's great. James, this
I
is so much fun. And this is what we were talking about this before we started recording. We're like,
yeah.
this is the element when we're having fun doing
Yeah.
live streams and shows and getting to know each other, to make it manifest in a way like this where your art
Yeah.
is communicating and capturing all of that sentiment in a piece of art
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
truly amazing. It's just great. I'm so happy
Thank
that you
you.
did it and got this opportunity to do that.
I'm
You're
gonna
going to need to do this for your Jinja Ninja with like you and
yeah,
Eric, and
yeah.
you gotta have you guys have something that would
Yeah,
represent that. It'd be so much fun.
that would be really cool to do. It's something definitely I want to do somewhere down the line. One more thing. I don't think
Okay.
anybody's ever going to get this, so I'm just gonna go ahead and explain it to you. You can clip this out if you want to, or you can keep it secret. It's up to you. But there's one last reference here that a lot of people aren't going to get, and that is the Ace 99 here.
The
So
199.
Jeremy thinks he's won. He's got an ace nine, and there's an ace
Right.
9 here on the flop. That's the dealer. They're playing 5 card stud. Well,
Right.
they're playing like a 5 card game poker. So he thinks I've got double aces, 2 aces, and 3 9s. So he's got a full house, right?
Right.
Now Odin has got his ace up the sleeve with his ace taking away the king because the king is a reference to Odin. Odin being the
Okay.
king,
Okay. Yeah.
the Norse gods. Okay, I know it's stupid, but with this ace, that will give him also a full house, but his full house of 3 aces on
Will be
two
aces
nines is
over
better.
nines.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but
Mm-hmm.
the hand, and this was really difficult trying to figure this out. The hand that dealer now Dan Vasquez, the dealer, as you see right there. Ace is also you can also call the ace the 1 card one.
Yep.
Therefore, the 199,
The 199, which is what I got
kind of
out of it first, but
yeah
I didn't catch that
yeah
you also had the fact that Odin was going to trump Jeremy secretly by
yeah
cheating, which
yeah
is very
exactly
off-brand for Odin. Odin wouldn't be the cheater,
exactly
right? So
yeah
yes,
yeah yeah.
perfect. Yeah, no, yeah. So, oh yeah, that's good stuff.
But there's
See,
a
they're
lot
not
going on
gonna.
right there.
I wonder.
Nobody's gonna notice that.
Did you tell them all of this?
No, no.
Oh, this is
Well, no,
brilliant.
yes,
Okay,
I
so,
did. I did
okay.
it afterwards, kind of after the fact. I did it right. I was working with Melissa, Gary's wife. She's kind of the one who's in charge of all art related things.
Hmm.
So I was working with her on it more so than Gary because Gary, is all over the place. But I I I I sent her the picture and I put like all of the Easter eggs in there. So it's like there's all the references I'm making, and yeah,
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's
yeah,
awesome. Yeah. Thanks very much for
yeah, no problem.
and just getting into the intricacies of everything. I think is just that's fantastic.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, if I had more time to work on it, it probably would have come out a little bit, more clean in places, but it was time constraints. I was like, I've got like 2 or 3 days. It's like, what could I knock out in 2 or 3 days? So I did my best. I had fun
Oh,
with it.
I think it's
So
great, and it fits very much your style, right? It fits
yeah,
very
yeah,
much your expression, and then
yeah.
and again, as being a fan, it's easy to interweave all of these different references and things like that in there, even seamlessly so, as though you won't get it. So I think that's brilliant.
The the
Can't agree more. So.
the one reference I forgot to talk about, or the one thing
Mhm.
that I forgot to talk about, which actually I did it, maybe I did this subconsciously. I could have done this subconsciously, but somebody pointed it out in the comments when I originally posted the picture. They're like, oh, and look at Gary showing up late. I was like, oh, wow. I didn't even think about that.
That
But I,
is brilliant.
but I
Yeah.
think maybe I did that unconsciously. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah,
it's
he's
just late.
bursting in, but that means
Yeah,
everything has already been happening. So he's late to his
exactly.
own
He's late.
show. Yes.
Exactly.
Oh, yes. Very
I,
good. Very, very good.
I,
So,
I,
uh, all right. So, James, we were talking about,
yeah.
trying to get in at Texas didn't work out. Boston
Mm,
is sort of like up in the air still.
yeah.
What are some of the other things that you sort of have in the hopper? Like, I keep trying to, you know, get you in the gate of this international tour. We got to get Jinja Ninja on the international tour circuit.
Yeah, like, well, okay, so, one thing that I forgot to mention was at, Tokyo Comic Con or no, Osaka Comic Con, there was a booth from some people from Singapore, um, and they couldn't speak Japanese, they could speak English a bit, and I helped them out, like, I made a sign for them in Japanese, I helped them talk to customers and translate it for them a bit, and they're like, we are at Singapore Comic Con, we want you there." So I've made some connections with Singapore Comic Con people,
Mm,
which is pretty close to me where I'm at. It's a lot closer to Dallas or anything. Only problem is they're at the same time as Tokyo Con, like the
mm.
same exact dates as Tokyo Comic Con. But I've got my eyes set on doing Singapore next year.
Okay. Okay. Very
Um,
cool.
and again, it's all about going to these cons and making these connections and stuff. Um, what my friend he's got a tabletop game that he's been working on for 10 years. He's asked me to do illustrations for it. So I as soon as I'm done with these illustrations for the Comic Con, I've got that ready to go. But I've also already got commissions for Tokyo. I've already got like 2 or 3 commissions for Tokyo already. So it's like there's
That's
already
awesome.
work ready to go. So that's always in the back of your mind. My friend, who is an English teacher and he has his own English school up in Wakayama, uh, he commissioned me to do the design layout and several illustrations for his children's teaching material, children's textbooks. I did
Huh.
one for him. He loved it. So now I've got 2 more to do. That will be going on later this year. So I got plenty of stuff that I got to
The
get
ball
done.
is
Yeah.
rolling. It's about trying to keep up, like you said. So,
Yeah.
well,
So
folks. Uh,
it's not. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
no, no, you're fine. Go ahead.
I was
It's.
just gonna say it's not like you don't have the steady like if you got like a regular like monthly paying job like
Mhm.
as an English teacher you have your steady income. You don't have that with when you're doing your like an independent artist. You don't so it's basically like some months you're like this, some months you're like this, but all together it's coming out to something that you can live on professionally. Yeah.
Awesome. That's awesome. Well, folks, make sure
Yeah.
I'll make sure I get more links from James. Make sure I have everything from him. So it's in the description. And you got everything you need to connect with him. Maybe you can buy one of those commissions ahead of time just in case when he comes to the States, you've already got it made and ready. So make sure you do that. Check out the link to his YouTube channel and you can check out that Sunday show. You can check out some of the work that he does. Connect him on Twitter. He posts it there, obviously over on Instagram, things like that. So it's been great to be able to hang with Jinja Ninja. My brother, thank you so much for doing this. It's been awesome.
Thank you, Pops. It's always a pleasure to be on here, man. I just talking to you is just sitting down and having like a little morning chat. It's great. Love it.